The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports.
Lou Bisaglia with an opportunity for redemption. He can emerge as the Grey Cup hero. Bisaglia's kick is up. It's good.
It has been a long summer for these suspects, and now we're here for the home stretch. We begin with an intriguing north-south matchup. The Hamilton Ticats, led by a great 1-2 punch at quarterback. Taylor runs defenses ragged. Calvillo picks them apart. The object of their attention is often the ageless Earl. The Baltimore Stallions are a horse with a name and a fearsome attack. If Ham doesn't kill you, Pringle can. He could break the 2,000-yard mark. He struck for 4 quarterback sacks last week. Alfred Payton is also a dancing machine. Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts. We're about to hit some turbulence. These are prosperous times at Iverwind Stadium in Hamilton. The Ticats are enjoying a rebirth and corresponding fan support, and tonight they and the Baltimore Stallions make the CFL turn for home. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Hamilton. Glad you could join us for the return of the CFL on CBC. I'm Scott Oak. You know, the novelty of Canadian-American matches in the CFL is probably worn off, but any visit by the Baltimore Stallions excites the fancy of fans and players. They are the Stallions now, so any reference to the team's equine status is legal and binding. And the Cats are a hot ticket again. They're winning. They haven't had a crowd below 20,000 all season. They'll exceed that tonight, so CFL life here is good once again. And now here are Don Whitman and James Curry. Don's beginning his 35th year of covering the CFL on CBC, and James played for 35 teams in his CFL career. I hasten to point out with distinction in each of those stops. Well, Don, seems that most games we broadcast here in the last 2 years had almost a funeral atmosphere. The Cats were losing on the verge of moving or folding. How much better do you find it now?
Well, the patience certainly appears to be on the road to recovery, both at the box office and on the field. The Ticats conducted a very successful off-season ticket blitz, but equally as important is the fact that this team is very competitive and is playing exciting football. The Ticats have won 4 in a row, and with 6 wins, they have exceeded by 2 their total for all of last year. A win tonight would move them into a tie for 2nd place in the Northern Division. I think attendance and the play on the field go hand in hand.
And believe me, Don, we love nothing better than broadcasting a game from a city where people are talking about the CFL. Is that not true, James?
It's nice to be back in Hamilton, and they're only talking football for a change. Hamilton has found a way to score points this year offensively, but defensively has been the key. Led by Michael O'Shea at middle linebacker, who suffered an injury last week with a dislocated elbow, who is going to be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. But they have a proven veteran sitting in the wings in Peter Gatoflis, who's going to get a chance to start at middle linebacker tonight after moving over from the offensive tackle position that he anchored for the last 2 seasons here in Hamilton. But he's faced with a formidable task in facing the league's leading rusher in Mike Pringle at Baltimore, who is well on his way to a 2,000-yard season.
Pringle is close to last year's record pace when he rushed for 1,972 yards. As you say, he's targeted 2,000 yards. Do not count him out. But we know somebody who could have stopped Mike Pringle in his day. That, though, was 10 years and 50 pounds ago. Danny Ray Kethley's with us tonight, watching from the sidelines. Dan, what do you think of this Hamilton offense?
I tell you what, I like the offense. I tell you what, they have a problem with it. They have 2 legitimate starting quarterbacks, a problem every head coach in the CFL would like to have. Don Southern had went out to the free agent market and signed Steve Taylor, and then in the dispersal draft from Las Vegas picked up Anthony Calvillo. This is a guy that's going to get the start tonight, has a lot of ability. He puts the points on the board. If he's patient, he'll make a lot of things happen for this Hamilton offense. Back to you, Scott.
All right, Cap, I bet somebody that the Cats could have their offensive coordinator, Dieter Brock, at quarterback by Labor Day. Guess I've lost the money. Coming up tonight on our BF Goodrich TA halftime, Doug Flutie joins us from Calgary to talk about his decision to undergo surgery on Tuesday and forego the rest of the season. And Canadian players like Chris Walby lash back at those who say they're weakening Canadian-based teams. Well, summer showing no signs of abating in Southern Ontario. It's been another warm day in Hamilton. The wind won't be a factor at all this evening, and it's clear. We welcome viewers across the country and also those in Baltimore watching tonight on WNU TV. Enjoy the game, A. It's a fine night for a football game. We usually start them with the kickoff. And here again are Don and James.
Thank you, Scott, and hi again, everybody. Baltimore won the toss. They have deferred their choice to the second half. As a result, they will be giving up the football, kicking off to the Ticats. Don Matthews, a very experienced CFL coach with previous stops in BC, Toronto, and Saskatchewan, taking a first-year team to the Grey Cup. On the other side of the field, a lot of Grey Cup experience as well. Don Sutherland, as a player and as a coach, has been to the Grey Cup on 14 occasions. Don Matthews alternates the kickoff chores between Carlos Huerta and the man who is going to kick off tonight, Josh Miller. Miller has improved his leg strength over the past year. An off-season conditioning program in Arizona has certainly paid dividends, and Miller will kick off. Greer and Rogers back to receive, and Rogers takes the opening kickoff and is forced out of bounds as he got back to the 28-yard line by Brian White. Anthony Calvillo is the starting quarterback, the first time he has started a game for Hamilton since the 28th of July. And these are the people he is working with up front. Some juggling necessary along the offensive line as the result of an injury to center Dale Sanderson. And last week, Larry Thompson had the fourth best receiving game in the history of the Canadian Football League against Winnipeg when he hauled in passes for 285 yards and 3 touchdowns. Ticat fans would like to see a similar effort tonight against Baltimore. First pass of the game is completed, a hitch screen, and Thompson is going to pick up a couple of yards, not much more. Defensively, Alfred Payton had 4 sacks last week in the victory over Toronto, and he's the rush end for the Baltimore Stallions. A lot of experience up front. O.J. Brigance has moved into the middle linebacking position between Goodwin and Gravely. We'll tell you more about some of the changes necessary in the secondary. Irvin Smith playing the corner, moving from the right to the left, having an outstanding season. Pass was intended for Lee Knight. It's incomplete. It's 2 and out for the Hamilton Ticats. Corus Irvin, an ex-member of the Ticats, was over to knock down the pass intended for Lee Knight.
But with all the changes that Hamilton has had to go to coming into this game tonight, they needed to get a good drive in their initial drive of the game. And Corus Irvin, a former Tiger Cat, coming up with the big play on Lee Knight, they felt that they could go against Irvin. That's one of the things he had done in the past, was laid off the receivers and sometimes gambled too much.
Paul Osbaldiston has improved his kicking this year, and he attributes the improved kicking statistics to the better snaps he is receiving from Blaine Schmidt. A driving kick that is taken by Chris Wright. He's a candidate, Baltimore feels, for Rookie of the Year honors. He ranks number 2 in all-purpose yards and is the leading punt returner in the league. He gets the ball up to the 49. Tracy Ham, the starting quarterback for Baltimore. Tracy Ham doesn't have numbers as impressive as a year ago. Baltimore has been relying more this year on a ground game. And what an offensive line they've got. They lost Char Purdonish with an injury, but they've been able to move Mike Withicombe around, and he is playing a tackle spot. Drummond will start at fullback, but he and Tui Pelotu will alternate at the fullback position. The reason? Coaches feel they want to give them a rest because both players work on special teams. First play of the game, Ham is going to pass, completes it to Culver. And Culver will be close to a first down as he gets inside the 50 of Hamilton. Defensively, this is the way the Ticats line up. They've been forced to make changes along the defensive line. Jesse Small had a big game last week against Winnipeg. James talked about Michael O'Shea's injury. Pete Giftopoulos will move into the center, replacing him. Eric Carter leads the league in interceptions. He's playing the corner. He has 6. Pringle, the leading ball carrier in the league, takes the ball to the 42 of Hamilton. Sean Smith was there to make the tackle. Pringle has 5 100-yard rushing games thus far this season. Pringle picks up 8. It will be 2nd and 2, Baltimore. Pringle again, and Pringle breaks the tackle to get the first down. Peter Giftopoulos came over to make the tackle. Pringle, if there is a criticism about his play, is sometimes a little impatient. But he does have the ability to break tackles, and we saw that there as Giftopoulos had problems hauling him down.
As you spoke about it, Don, he likes to get a hit blockers at times.
1st and 10, Baltimore. The ball is at the 38. Ham with excellent protection. Now he's flushed out of the pocket, and he overthrows Drummond. He was being pressured by Jesse Small.
To be successful against Baltimore, one of the things you have to do is be able to contain Tracy Ham in the pocket. That means that you rush guys from the outside. Your 2 defensive ends, Small and Embry, are going to have to get up the field and contain Tracy, not allowing him to escape and find that extra time to look for a 2nd and 3rd receiver downfield.
Well, I said Tracy's numbers aren't as good this year. He hasn't had to throw the ball as much. Only 3 times this year has he thrown for over 200 yards. But when your ground game is as successful as Baltimore's is, why throw? But right now, Tracy Ham is winding up, looking over the middle. McCurdy, the safety, brings it back to the 36. So Hamilton snuffs out a drive with 11:11 remaining in the opening quarter.
Tracy had a lot of time to sit in the pocket looking for Reggie Perry on a deep crossing route, but Tracy couldn't get the nose of the football down as you see it floating high. McCurdy there after the tip, but the return, getting the ball back up across the 35, picking up blocks from his teammates. That's the enthusiasm that Coach Southern has instilled this year in Hamilton. See a little rough stuff at the end of that play with Cavazzo and Campbell with Tracy Ham. All defensive linemen want a shot at the quarterback.
And Campbell was a former teammate of Tracy Ham's when they were in Toronto.
But they weren't there long enough to get a good friendship going.
McCurdy was also in Toronto. The inside toss to Kalen Hall, and Hall will get just a couple of yards. Running inside, very difficult. O.J. Brigance, the middle linebacker, made the tackle.
You know, you think about all the moves, Don, that Baltimore has made defensively, moving O.J. Brigance into the middle from the rush position. Now Grant Carter is playing that position that O.J. possessed, but he has added that formability to the defense where they can now interchange all those linebackers, go up to the line of scrimmage and blitz more freely.
Appeared to be some early movement at the line of scrimmage on 2nd down. Flag, the pass complete to Hazard, but Hazard is going to be stopped short of a first down. Horace Irvin made the tackle. Calvillo looking for the placement of the football. It appears to be a yard short of the 45.
That's about 2 yards, and it's a little early to start gambling against this Baltimore team. You don't want to give them the ball in great field position like this. Ozzie has been leading the league in net yards on punts. Let him get you out of the hole and possibly pin Baltimore down and give your defense a chance for a stand.
Osbaldiston last year many times had to move left, right, leap high, pick balls up in one bounce on a snap from center. He said Blaine Schmidt gets the ball back quickly and softly into his hands every time. He said only once this year has he had to reach up for a snap on a 3rd down punt. A perfect spiral back to the kicker, but not a great kick by Osbaldiston, but he gets a good bounce. Shannon Culver picks it up. Shannon Culver has a convoy in front of him. There's a penalty flag. Shannon Culver was turned inside by Osbaldiston and got the ball back to the 35. Lee Knight finally made the tackle, but there was a penalty flag back at the 45-yard line. It's holding against Baltimore.
What a big break for the Ticats, because they had excellent field position with the Culver return. One of the problems you have with your punt cover teams, if you don't get the hang time on the kicks. That time a line drive.
Holding, Baltimore, number 21, 10-yard penalty from point ball held. First down.
I think it was both a line drive and a live drive, James.
A line drive by Osbaldiston and not allowing the coverage team to get down and bracket the ball, and the great return by Baltimore. You'll see right here in the middle of your screen as they're coming down the field, 58 right there in the middle of your screen gets an illegal block from behind, but you also get the holding right here in the middle.
Reggie Gibbons is the man charged with the illegal block. Earlier this year, he was with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Here's the handoff to Drummond. Drummond is forced to cut back inside. He puts his head down and continues to drive up to the 53-yard line. Out of Syracuse, Drummond had some impressive numbers playing college football. Drummond is likely going to play all of the first quarter, with Tui Pelotu taking over in the second quarter. Drummond coming back in the third. Both play special teams, and the coaching staff wants to give them a rest. Fake inside to Pringle. Pass over the middle to Armstrong, and Armstrong is hauled down by Greer, but he's got a first down at the 44.
Hamilton is going to have to find a way to try to put some pressure on Tracy Ham. You cannot allow Tracy or any quarterback in the CFL to sit in the pocket for 4.5 seconds looking for a receiver down the field. And Armstrong ran that deep crossing route. That was a 15-yard route, but he came across the middle, and Tracy had plenty of time, no obstruction. You can see the clear passing lane he had there, and a perfect strike to Armstrong.
A gain of 14 yards. It's 1st and 10 Baltimore from the 43 of Hamilton. Hand off to Pringle. Pringle cuts back inside, and he fights his way to the 36-yard line. Mike Campbell came back to make the tackle on Mike Pringle. Campbell is going to move around. He's going to play some on the left side, and he'll also move over to the right tackle position.
Well, you get a shot of Pete Gutoflis there early in the game. Neil Fort, 350 pounds at right tackle, can just about outsize anyone. And Gutoflis in his first game back in the middle had his hands full.
Three receivers in motion to the left. A handoff to Pringle to the right side, and Pringle continues to drive for a first down. He doesn't often make people miss, but he can break tackles.
He is such a determined runner once he gets his hands on the ball. Everything in the Baltimore offense comes off of the search play. Mike Pringle deep in the backfield gets the ball, allowing his offensive lineman to get out in front of him. Whitcomb, in that time, he was able to pick up 7 strong yards. What he does after you make the contact, he has such tremendous leg drive to carry a tackler for that extra couple of yards.
Withicombe James led the way, enabling Pringle to pick up the first down. 1st and 10. Ham looks out into the flat. The pass is complete for a first down, and Robert Clark takes it out of bounds at the 18.
A lot of talk was given about Michael O'Shea missing the game tonight, but Hamilton has gone through 6 changes on his defense, and you can really see it up front with Michael Philbrook being out of there, along with Marcus Cotton. And that was a big part of their front four, getting that heat up field, and Tracy Ham hasn't felt any pressure tonight.
This time 3 receivers go wide to the right. Culver splits left. 1st and 10 from the 18. Fake to Pringle. Ham is going to run it himself, and he is certainly capable, as those familiar with the performance of Tracy Ham during his career in Edmonton will attest. And Tracy Ham takes the ball down to the 10-yard line.
That is what you don't want Tracy Ham doing tonight, is running the ball. You feel better if he sits in the pocket and tries to deliver it down the field. But when he starts running, that's that extra dimension that he adds to the offense, along with Drummond, Pringle, and now you have Tracy Ham as that 3rd ball carrier.
2nd and 2. The ball is at the 10-yard line. 5:45 remaining in the still scoreless opening quarter. This time the give is to Pringle. Pringle gets outside, and is forced out of bounds by Carter, but appears to have the first down. He was close to the 5-yard line when he was forced out.
Baltimore, most of their running game consists of going strong, and what they're doing is that they're running after Jesse Small. If you see Jesse Small here coming off the block late from Neil Ford, he plays 2 upright. Offensive coordinator Steve Barato feels to fight against these big offensive linemen, and he's had problems on the first couple of running plays.
5 running plays, 2 passing plays so far on this drive. It's first and goal. Tracy Ham will run. He'll be stopped at the 4 by Giftopoulos, but there are penalty flags. There appeared to be some early movement.
Mike Campbell seemed to get into that neutral zone early for the Hamilton defense.
Ken Lazaruk, the referee tonight, the man in charge of the officiating crew. He'll tell us about it.
Hamilton, number 98, half the mission to goal line.
As you'll see at the bottom of your screen here, Mike Campbell gets into that neutral zone, and Tracy Ham, with his voice inflection, drew him offsides.
First and goal from the 3-yard line. Lined up in the power formation, they scatter. The handoff to Pringle. He's got the touchdown. So Mike Pringle caps a successful drive for the Baltimore Stallions as they are first on the board at Ivor Wynne Stadium. The 7th rushing touchdown this season for Mike Pringle. A very impressive drive by the Stallions.
The search play once again to the strong side. Mike Pringle gets the ball deep enough to be able to read his blocking and just fall right into the end zone for the first major of the night. You talk about smash mouth football. That's what Baltimore brings to you with that 300-plus pound offensive line.
Carlos Huerta with the point after, and the Baltimore Stallions enjoy a 7-0 lead, and we'll be back for the Baltimore kickoff after this. Capable of rushing for 2,000 yards this season, and last year, the first time he played the Hamilton Tiger Cats, he ran for 172 yards. And he is the man who put the capper to the 62-yard drive here at Ivor Wynne for the first touchdown of the ball game. Rogers on the kickoff return ran into one of his own men, and he's knocked down at the 30-yard line. That's where Anthony Calvillo and the Ticats will scrimmage 1st and 10. That was a 58-yard kick and a run back of 12.
Anthony Calvillo had a lot of success last year versus this Baltimore franchise. In a game down in Baltimore last year, he was only 14 of 32, but for 333 yards. So Coach Southern felt in starting Calvillo tonight that he would have that same type of success. But waiting in the wings, you have Steve Taylor, the more mobile of the two, if the pass rush gets to the point where Calvillo cannot avoid it.
On first down, Calvillo looks over the middle for Richard Nurse, incomplete.
Those are the type of catches you have to make in a game like this to get your offense untracked against this strong Baltimore defense. That's a very simple ball. It wasn't thrown too hard. Richard Nurse has to make that catch.
Last week against Winnipeg, Calvillo took over for Taylor and completed 16 of 33 for 292 yards in the overtime victory by the Ticats. Pressure early, and down he goes. O.J. Brigance, the middle linebacker, was blitzing, and Brigance got to Calvillo and forces the Ticats to kick it away. Brigance had a clear path up the middle and got to the Hamilton quarterback.
O.J. Brigance made that move to the middle from the outside last year, and this is perfectly what we're talking about. You got O.J. here. He's going to sneak up. Hall is going to try to meet him in the hole, but he's just not strong enough to hold him off. O.J. will run him over and make the sack on the play of Calvillo for the big play for the Baltimore defense.
That's a bit of a mismatch. Hall attempting to block O.J. Brigance, particularly when the middle linebacker for the Stallions had a head of steam, and he was able to drop the Hamilton quarterback for a loss. Penalty flag in the play as Osbaldiston goes down. It appeared as though Watson hit him, and there's another penalty flag on the kick return by Wright. That was a 42-yard kick with 3:37 remaining, and we'll be back to sort out the penalties after this.
Under the Great. Together again. New Canuck Ice Packs let you catch 11 games in spectacular General Motors Place. Hurry, call Ticketmaster today at 280-4400 because hockey just got better.
And there was a no-yards penalty on the punt return. But after the sack of quarterback Calvillo by Brigance, the application of the penalties still left the Ticats well short of a first down. So they will be kicking again on third down.
Well, Ozzie hasn't gotten great hang time on his first two punts. He's going to need to be able to let his team get down and bracket the ball. Otherwise, Smith can take one back.
Again, pressure up the middle, but this time Osbaldiston gets away a good kick. Taken by Chris Wright. Wright with tremendous speed tried to go to the outside, and Rogers was up on the tackle and was able to take him out of bounds. A punt of 48 yards by Paul Osbaldiston. Baltimore, the #1 team in the Southern Division, with a number of players leading the league in a variety of categories. And Mike Pringle certainly has time and the talent to perhaps break the record for single-season rushing he established last year. He is also the leader in all-purpose yards. First and 10 Baltimore. They are at their own 53-yard line. Three receivers wide to the left. A handoff to Pringle, and Pringle drives to the 50 of Hamilton. That will be a gain of 7 with middle linebacker Peter Giftopoulos in to make the tackle.
All defensive players like to get a lot of work in a game, but I don't know if Peter Giftopoulos can withstand the pressure all night long of this big offensive line, play after play coming at him. That time he's making the tackle back on his heels as Mike Pringle picks up 6 on first down.
Ham is forced to pull it down. He needs 3 yards for a first down. He gets it before Peter Giftopoulos brings him down. Keith Embry put the initial pressure on Tracy Ham, but Ham was able to escape. The book on Giftopoulos is that he will play very well from tackle to tackle, but he doesn't have the speed of Michael O'Shea to cover and run down people, although he looked to be fairly fleet of foot in catching Tracy Ham on this play.
Well, this season he's down about 35 pounds from last season. I guess everyone in offseason lost weight. But that time he was able to track Tracy down, but he's not getting any support from his front four. They're not putting any pressure on Tracy Ham.
From just inside the 45 of Hamilton, it's 1st and 10 with 1:40 remaining in the opening quarter. Pringle breaks the tackle, looks for a block from Tolmer, and then is forced out of bounds by Greer. A 24-yard run by Mike Pringle. In the second half of the season, Don Sutherland was expressing concerns about Mike Pringle. He had 2 games where he ran for better than 200 yards.
Well, when you look at Mike Pringle running behind this Rolls-Royce of offensive lines in the CFL, everyone's standing around 6'5", and you look at that Hamilton defensive line where you have a lot of guys at 6 foot and 6'1", they have a hard time finding Mike Pringle, and you can see on that dive play, they didn't stand a chance.
63 yards already for Pringle, and this time he'll get only 2.
Giftopoulos on the tackle. Remember that 1988 national championship team at Penn State where he started linebacker before joining the Canadian Football League? A lot of pride in him coming back in, proving to the coaching staff that he can still play at linebacker.
On second down, Ham can't find a receiver. Now looks to the end zone, and it's picked off by Carter. Beautiful timing by Eric Carter on the pass intended for Robert Clark. Clark thought he had a touchdown. He He was on his knees in the end zone, and Carter timed his theft perfectly.
Perfect gauging of the football by Carter. Tracy Ham once again with ample amount of time trying to check down to his second, third, and even fourth receiver once he got outside of Jesse Small. He thought he had Clark, who he could not see Carter coming across from his halfback position, making that pick just with the fingertips, saving Hamilton's defense from being pushed into the end zone once again.
The second interception. McCurdy had one earlier, and now Carter picks off a Tracy Ham throw. It will be 1st and 10 Hamilton. The Ticats at their own 6-yard line. 22 seconds remaining in the opening quarter, and Kalen Hall takes the ball out to the 10 for a gain of 4.
When you look at the Baltimore defense, they're really crowding the line of scrimmage at this point. Kalen Hall is having a tough time finding running room. What you had when you had Steve Taylor at the running quarterback, you had the defense playing back, playing a little more soft.
Kalen Hall, 5'8", 205 pounds. Don Sutherland says he does go down a couple of times during the course of a football game. That's one of the reasons earlier this year he dressed Derek McAdoo. Earl Winfield, having an outstanding season, makes the catch. The ball is up at the 22-yard line. A gain of 12 yards for Earl the Pearl. And that is also the final play of the opening quarter at Ivor Wynne Stadium, with the Ticats trailing the Stallions by 7.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Ford of Canada, makers of the new 1996 Ford Taurus.
Wherever you're looking in tonight on CBC television across the country, we hope you're enjoying the action from Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton, and a special hello to the folks down in Baltimore who are watching tonight's game on WNUV TV channel 54. A big game on the 9th of September for the Stallions at home to the Birmingham Barracudas, a team that currently is just 2 points back of Baltimore in the Southern Division following the victory last night. The pass was intended for Thompson. It will be 2nd and 10. Statistically, a huge edge in the first quarter for Baltimore. 110 net yards to just 19 for Hamilton. But there were 2 interceptions by Hamilton that kept the Ticats from falling perhaps even further behind.
Well, that's that useful exuberance that they have on defense now. This is the only team other than one of the expansion teams in the CFL to start 5 new members in the secondary, and they have responded for this Ticat team.
Penalty flag on the last play. Payton was offside. 1st and 5, and Kalen Hall is driven back by Gerald Bayless with help from O.J. Brigance.
Gerald Bayless has been the anchor of that Baltimore defense, the first player that Coach Don Matthews wanted in the free agent market when they were forming the team last year. And he's been that steady player, and you see him right here as he'll get the penetration right up the middle, and he meets Kalen Hall just as he gets the handoff and stops him in the backfield for no gain on the play.
Well, Matthews certainly knew what Gerald Bayless was capable of doing. He was the MVP in 1993 with Saskatchewan. Bayless coming again. The pass complete to Earl Winfield. Penalty flag on the play. This should be a 1st down if the pass is allowed to stand. Winfield came into this game with 49 receptions, the leading receiver in Hamilton. Only Sapunjas and Pitts.
Baltimore, number 98, declined. 1st down.
Only Sapunjas and Pitts in Calgary have caught more, 72 and 62 respectively. This is Winfield's 51st of the year.
Well, you take Earl Winfield and you challenge supposedly the best defensive back on Baltimore teams, Irvin Smith. Winfield having a banner season this year for the Ticats. The resurgence with the 2 new young quarterbacks with strong arms who can get him the ball on time, let him get his shoulders turned upfield and run with the football.
Earl was also telling me that his play has improved because he is not working on special teams. Pass was intended for Winfield again. Irvin Smith knocked it away.
Winfield once again working against Irvin Smith just on a straight fly route. Smith running stride for stride. Winfield trying to come back to the ball. You see a little hand fighting going on right there. Neither player gained an advantage. The official right on top of it, not throwing a flag.
Smith moved from the right corner to the left side, and he is going to line up again against Earl Winfield. Calvillo was looking in the hole for Larry Thompson. The pass is incomplete.
One of the strong suits of Calvillo has been his ability to check down to his second and third receiver in a route. That time he had locked in on Larry Thompson, threw the ball behind Thompson as he made the break, and the ball fell in that no man's land.
13-13, the time remaining in the second quarter. Osbaldiston was the overtime hero last week in Winnipeg on the final play of the game, splitting the uprights in a 36-33 Hamilton victory, the fourth consecutive win for the Ticats. If they could win tonight, they would move into a tie for second place in the Northern Division. Chris Wright looks for some blocking help, makes a couple of people miss, and now he's got the speed. But he's caught from behind by Andrew Martin. Wright is a very exciting kick returner, as the Hamilton fans have seen twice. The coaching staff didn't think he had a hope of making the team, but he made an immediate impression with his speed. And he has impressed the Ticats with his speed in tonight's football game. This 35-yard punt return putting the Stallions in excellent field position once again.
Well, Osbaldiston only got 3.4 seconds on hang time on that punt, not allowing that coverage team down with an explosive runner like Wright. That's the result.
Pringle takes the handoff, following the blocking, bounces off a couple of would-be tacklers, and will have a gain of about 9 yards, depending on the placement of the football.
When you look at Mike Pringle running the ball, is always picking up more yards than what he actually should pick up. And that's that power and determination. When you look at 5 and 6 Ticats making contact with him per run, he is actually wearing down the defenders because they're the ones who are bouncing off, and he's picking up the extra yardage.
Looking for a second straight league rushing title, and perhaps breaking the record of 1972 he set last year. Pringle simply watches as Tracy Ham dives straight ahead for a Baltimore first down.
Someone across this Hamilton defensive front four is going to have to find a way to make a big play here. You have Baltimore driving once again. They're just pushing them back. They're playing on their heels. They're going to have to get some penetration, possibly come up with some blitzes in their package, trying to foil what Baltimore is doing offensively here.
But look at the size of that Baltimore offensive line. Ford, 6'7", 330. Earl, 6'5", 300. Subas, 6'5", 280. And a hole up the middle for Pringle, as he has about 8 more. John James, 6'3", 300 pounds. Mike Withicombe, 6'5", 300 pounds.
And Don, the example of what that size will give you. Look at this offensive line as they get off the ball. They're reestablishing the line of scrimmage. They're just pushing Ticat defenders to the side, allowing Mike Pringle on that search run to pick the hole, cut back, and pick up the 8 yards on first down.
2nd and 2, Baltimore. It's Pringle again. This time he's got a big hole. Now he's looking to the end zone. He'll get there. A 26-yard touchdown run for Mike Pringle.
This is a game that was a test for this Hamilton defense, faced with all the injuries coming in here. You see right there Mike Campbell not being able to get off the block as Pringle hurdles a defender as he comes up. Carter could not hang on as he was going into the end zone. Touchdown once again, Baltimore.
Pringle now has 109 rushing yards, his 6th 100-yard game of the season. The projections based on his totals through the first 10 games would give him 1,855 yards for the season. But Pringle has told us that he thinks he's capable of going over 2,000 yards. And the way he's running tonight, and if he plays in the second half of the season the way he did in the second half last year, he'll get 2,000.
Once again, right behind Nick Subas, the big offensive center, along with James, the left guard. You see him on the search as he came up through there. There was no one in sight. We talked about Michael O'Shea being out of the lineup. Also, Hassan Bailey, the number 1 and 2 tacklers for the Ticat defense, are missing tonight. And those are huge shoes to fill tonight. And Mike Pringle thus far is having a field day here in the first half.
The Stallions have a record of 12-1 when Pringle rushes for 100 yards or more. The only time the Stallions have lost when Pringle has had a 100-yard rushing game was on August the 12th against Memphis. And that was at the tail end of a road trip, a long road trip.
Well, since this is our first game back and you're a crack statistician, what's his projection for tonight's total?
About 3,050. He's got 109 for the 20 minutes he's played. So I guess based on the time and the yardage total, you'd have to think he could be up around 300 yards.
Brian White on the tackle.
Brian White was the man who made the return. Well, Dieter Brock, going into the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame this year, has made a major contribution to the passing success the Ticats have enjoyed. He has worked with the 2 quarterbacks, Calvillo and Taylor, and Mike Kerrigan, the third man. Kerrigan has also worked with the 2 young quarterbacks, so it's been a combination of effort on the part of the assistant coach and the veteran quarterback with the 2 young men.
Well, he's really been a driving force behind the maturity of those 2 young men who both do not have a great amount of CFL experience. People talk about Taylor being around for 7 years, but he's only had 1 start in those 7 years in the CFL. So Calvillo is actually the more experienced of the 2 quarterbacks. Taylor is more the rusty one of the 2 because of all the time sitting and watching.
Much of Calvillo's success this year has been in coming off the bench as a replacement. He's the starter tonight. Calvillo dumps it off, and Kalen Hall gets up to the 42-yard line, stopped well short of a first down by Courtney Griffin. Now, Griffin didn't expect to play in tonight's football game. Charles Anthony was slated to line up at an inside halfback position, but he returned home to Baltimore because his wife is expecting a child. So Courtney Griffin, who had started all of the games this year for Baltimore, returned to the lineup.
Well, actually, they have 2 replacements in the secondary. Brian White, son of former Boston Celtics great JoJo White, is starting at free safety tonight for Baltimore. So it was a big challenge for this defense facing this improved Hamilton passing attack.
And what a change in the secondary this year for Baltimore as compared to last year. The punt is blocked by Walton. Osbaldiston will kick it again. The ball is loose. Penalty flags fly as it's recovered up at the 54-yard line. Walton got through to block it. He has been a key member of Baltimore's special teams this year. And a heads-up play by Osbaldiston. He did not attempt to pick the football up after it was blocked. As it lay in the ground, he kicked it upfield.
Well, Walton came into this game leading the league in special team tackles. That time he added to his statistics, getting the block punt on Osbaldiston, just fighting through the blocker, driving back, extending that arm at the last moment, making contact with the football.
This one may take some explaining by referee Ken Lazarek.
Because the ball was blocked, re-kicked, and then batted by one of the Ticat players going down on the coverage team. I'm surprised with the time that Ken has taken. Normally when Ken's doing a game, you can always make a flight afterwards, but it's going to be a little holdup on this one.
Well, he will have to confer with his officials to try and sort out everything that did take place.
We get a look at it right here. Walton will come from your left as he sticks his arm in and gets a piece of that ball of Osbaldiston as he's driving through the up back right there. Knight. Great effort by Alvin Walton, but watch Osbaldiston's reaction after having his kick blocked to have the headsiness to go down and kick the ball once again as it traveled downfield.
The punt was blocked and then dribbled across the line of scrimmage, touched by an offside player. Therefore, the ball is Baltimore's at the point, touched by the offside player. First down, Baltimore.
The offside player touching the football at the 54-yard line. And I think that's a natural reaction. Once the ball has been blocked like that, the player downfield, when he sees the ball being kicked, his instinct is to grab it. And, of course, that was not legal on the part of the Hamilton player. So as a result, Baltimore takes over at the 54. Ham swings it out to Drummond. Drummond with a full head of speed, and he runs over Derek Greer after he picks up a first down, taking it to the 41 of Hamilton. A 15-yard run for Drummond on that little swing pass from Tracy Ham.
Well, when Drummond made his CFL debut, it was on a 47-yard touchdown pass last season from Tracy Ham, and he has always been the one coming out of the backfield they thought was the best receiver of the 3 running backs that they possess on this team.
Shannon Culver made a nice block on Don Robinson, enabling Drummond to get around the corner. First and 10, the handoff to Pringle, and Pringle takes it down to the 27-yard line for another Baltimore first down. The way he's running in this first half, Pringle could have a 200-yard game by the intermission.
Well, when you look at the job that his offensive line, he'll run right through the line of scrimmage without anyone laying a hand on him. He's in the secondary before being hit by the free safety, Brian McCurdy. And if your free safety is up making tackles on running plays, your front 7 is getting killed.
Look at those numbers for Mike Pringle. 122 yards already. Fake inside to Pringle. Now Ham is being flushed out. Manages to stay on his feet as he got away from Campbell. And the athletic ability of Tracy Ham prevented a major loss there, and as a matter of fact turned it into a bit of a gain as he was finally forced out of bounds by Sean Smith. What could have been a big loss results in a 3-yard gain. Mike Campbell thought he had the Baltimore quarterback.
Well, one of the things when defensive linemen are coming at quarterbacks, you'll see right here as Mike Campbell falls off of Tracy Ham, they try to take him too high. They try to get that crushing blow. Sometimes you just have to wrap him up and bring him down at that point. A sack is a sack as long as the quarterback hits the ground.
Clark lines up wide to the right. Ham is in the shotgun on second down. Quick pass to Drummond. Drummond cuts back inside. First down, Baltimore. A lot of teams are using a variation of the hitch screen quite successfully.
First down for the Stallions.
The Hamilton defenders right now are very winded. They're walking around. They have their hands on their hip. They can't figure out this Baltimore offense. They're running from sideline to sideline. You got Mike Pringle smashing straight up the middle. This big offensive line right now is just worn down this Hamilton front 7.
14-0. Baltimore leads, and the Stallions are threatening to add more. The toss goes to Pringle. Pringle cuts it inside, and he takes it down to about the 3. That could be close to another first down. An 11-yard gain it is. Another first down, and he now has 133 rushing yards.
Hamilton has played a basic package up front here in the first half. They played a base 4-3 across the front. What they're going to have to do is possibly go to a 5-man line, get one of those backers up on the line of scrimmage, trying to come with a gap cancellation, possibly slant their front 4, trying to get and seal some of those gaps off.
The power I formation. Handoff goes to Pringle, and Pringle has the touchdown. Jim Speros may have some problems with Mike Pringle. Pringle, I understand, is playing out his option, but I'm sure would listen to any contract discussions that Jim Speros might have with him.
Well, I think with the numbers that Mike Pringle has posted thus far in the season and the game that he's having tonight here, once again on a straight dive, that there'll be contract offers from more than just Jim Speros, and he won't have any problem listening.
Huerta's point after out of the hold of Crowley. And with 5:56 remaining in the first half, Baltimore leads by 21. For Mike Pringle as he capped the 56-yard drive. The first time that he has scored 3 rushing touchdowns in a game. That is a Baltimore club record for Mike Pringle. Last year, his very first 100-yard rushing game was against the Hamilton Ticats here at Iverwind Stadium. He had 172 yards and is threatening to break that total based on his performance so far tonight. The ball bounced ahead to Sam Rogers, and Rogers takes it up to the 40-yard line. Now let's go to the sidelines. Scott Oak and Dan Kepler.
All right, Don, on that field level, there is a consensus. Baltimore is a team with no visible weaknesses. Cap, how do you stop Mike Pringle?
I really don't think you stop him. I think right now you got to try to slow him. Obviously, Baltimore's winning at the point of attack, the line of scrimmage. A lot of guys out there at Hamilton running around blocks, poor tackling. Somehow they got to get a little more discipline, wrap up, and start making some tackles when they have the opportunity.
Baltimore got all the way to the Grey Cup final last year, and they're a better team this year.
Well, they certainly have, and the one big addition that they have is a return man named Chris Wright. They've gotten better on offense, better on defense, but now they have a return guy that makes Tracy Ham short on a short field.
All right, Cap, we'll talk to you again at halftime. Don, back to you.
He is knocked down by Corus Irvin.
Corus Irvin, an ex-member of the Ticats, came over to knock the pass down that was intended for Larry Thompson. It will be 2nd and 10.
2nd and 10, ball on the 39.5-yard line.
Corus Irvin played 4 games with Hamilton in the 1994 season, and now is in the employ of the Baltimore Stallions as Hamilton looks at 2nd and 10. Calvillo looks over the middle, and this one is intercepted. Gravely is the man who got in front of the throw that was intended for Manny Hazard, and Baltimore takes over 1st and 10 at the 50-yard line. Robert Pressbury was pressuring Calvillo, may have forced him to hurry the throw with 5:06 left in the half.
Nothing here to Baltimore, but Tracy Gravely made a great one-handed interception on the play. He locked in on his primary receiver as he went back. He looked, Gravely read him, frees it right here. Look at the hand extension right there as he goes up high, gets the ball at his highest point, makes the interception. Baltimore with the big turnover once again.
5:06 remaining in the first half as Baltimore will scrimmage 1st and 10 from the Hamilton 50. The Stallions leading by a score of 21-0. Clark lines up wide to the left, Culver to the right. Pringle, the lone setback. He gets the ball, and Pringle adds to his total by about 6 more. Now 141 yards, stopped by Steve Grant. Pringle's best running game thus far this season, 166 yards last week against Toronto. This is his 4th consecutive game of better than 100 yards.
Don, when you look at this Hamilton defense, they're just actually playing back on their heels. They're sitting there and they're catching the offensive lineman, trying to skate back and forth and find Mike Pringle.
Second and 4, Baltimore. Ham will air it out, and the catch is made for a 1st down by Chris Armstrong. You know, in contrast to the performance of Pringle this year, Chris Armstrong last year had 8 100-yard receiving games. He does not have a single 100-yard receiving game.
But when you have the running of Mike Pringle and an offensive line and fullbacks who have been blocking like they have for Tracy Ham, Jesse Small is the rush in for Hamilton. He has not been able to get any penetration on Tracy Ham tonight, and when that is occurring, you see why this Baltimore offense has been so effective.
18 first downs already for Baltimore, just 3 for Hamilton. And Pringle goes searching for more, and this time will be restricted to about a 2-yard advance by Keith Embray and Lou Cafazzo. Embray added to the roster of the Ticats for this game. Ticats have been after him for a while, but he opted to remain in school to get his master's degree. He got it in social psychology. So now in a passing situation, Embry goes out, and Rogers comes in as a 6th defensive back. Ham with all sorts of time throws over the middle to Pringle, but he's going to be stopped well short of a 1st down. Robinson, the defensive back, came up to make the tackle with 2:46 remaining in the first half at Ivor Wynne Stadium.
By 21 on our BF Goodrich TA halftime show tonight. We'll talk to the CFL's most recognizable player, Doug Flutie. He'll join us from Calgary to talk about his decision to have surgery on his elbow. And Canadian players find themselves on the firing line with no end of talk. They're a weak link in their own league. Walby, O'Shea, and some others will fire back. And then Don, James, and Dan and I will fix everything in an inspired discussion, won't we, Don?
We'll be able to fix much, but we will certainly be able to discuss what has become a problem in the Canadian Football League, in the opinion of some. And that's the unfairness of the rules as they apply to Canadian and American teams. Carlos Huerta with a 38-yard field goal, upping the score to 24-0. Baltimore all over the Hamilton Ticats tonight. The Ticats expected Baltimore to run, but they felt they might be able to stop Mike Pringle. So far, they haven't been able to do it. But they are going to make a change defensively, it appears. Tim Brown, a newly acquired linebacker, looks as though he's going to be going in to take over from Peter Gutopoulos. Calvillo steps up. Pass was intended for Thompson. He had Horace Irvin all over him, and Irvin was able to knock it down. Thompson was looking hopefully towards the official for a flag, but there was no red nylon on the artificial turf here at Ivor Wynne Stadium. Second and 10 from the 35. Quick pass inside. Lee Knight is the man Calvillo was looking for. It was broken up right at the line of scrimmage. .227 remaining in the half. Osbaldiston stands back at the 20-yard line for this third down punt. I talked earlier about the fact he has not had to chase down bad snaps, and now it rolls through the end zone, and it's kept in the field of play by Baltimore, and Watson recovers for the touchdown. Matt Goodwin made an excellent move to bat it back into the field of play when Osbaldiston thought he was going to knock it out of the end zone. And the problems continue for the Ticats against a fired-up Baltimore team here at Ivor Wynne.
I can't get away. You'll get a shot and the ball sails.
And Goodwin made a heads-up move to get into the back of the end zone and keep the ball in the field of play. And now the point after by Huerta with 2:18 remaining in the half. It's 31-0. Baltimore leading. Matt Goodwin has been a key man on special teams, both last year and this year for the Baltimore Stallions, and he continues his superb play as he got through to the end zone. But it all started with a bad snap to punter Paul Osbaldiston.
And we get a shot of it right here as Osbaldiston hustling back, trying to bat it. The ball had bounced too high for him to kick it. Normally kickers try to put their foot on the ball, but Matt Goodwin with the heads-up play as the ball got to the back line of the end zone, batted it back to Ken Watson, who recovered for the touchdown for Baltimore.
And that might be the easiest touchdown Ken Watson will ever score.
Well, it's been an onslaught by Baltimore here in the first half. They've done everything right, offensively, defensively, specialty team-wise. They've had a great first half. They've come up, they've served notice. Kepley spoke about it earlier in the opening that this is a much improved team over last year, and they've showed no signs of weakness tonight.
You know, a lot of players going after the loose ball in the end zone, like Matt Goodwin did, might have attempted to grab the ball themselves, but Goodwin realized if he grabbed the ball, he probably would not have been able to stay in the end zone, so he kept it in the field of play. And Ken Watson scores the touchdown. This is Sam Rogers on the kickoff return. Rogers struggles for some extra yards and then is driven back at the 38. The contact by Brian White, initially a 26-yard kick return for Sam Rogers. It's been a tough night for Anthony Calvillo. He has just not been able to get this Hamilton offense on track. But so far, head coach Don Southern has not even hinted that he might be making a change. 5 completions and 14 attempts for Calvillo.
Well, one of the things that had been a plus for Calvillo is that he had the opportunity to sit on the sideline with offensive coordinator Dieter Brock, analyze the opposing team's defense, and now he's starting the game, so he's a test under fire.
Earl Winfield has been a favorite target, his 3rd catch of the night, and he was caught immediately by Irvin Smith.
Earl Winfield has caught a couple of balls tonight, but not anything of substantial gain. And Baltimore has cheated up to the line defensively. They're not sitting back, giving that cushion to the Hamilton receivers, and so it's very tough for the quarterbacks to get those balls into them.
This is a career type of season for the 34-year-old Winfield. Intended for Thompson, incomplete. No, they are ruling that he made the catch. And it is a first down at the 50-yard line.
The fans in Hamilton showing their appreciation. They've had very little to cheer about here in the first half, but that first down for Thompson gets them back into it.
Fake by Calvillo. Now he goes deep to Thompson. Thompson's got it. He's headed for the end zone. And he'll score, but there's a penalty flag back at the 50-yard line. A 60-yard touchdown pass to Thompson, but it might be called back.
What you're going to get is Coors Irvin bit on the fake by Thompson, went down, tried to grab Thompson, knew that he was behind him, didn't have the back end support.
Baltimore number 21.
Penalty declined, and the Hamilton Ticats will get a huge psychological lift out of the touchdown throw from Calvillo to Thompson with only 1:43 remaining in the first half.
That pass play was set up by the play before when Thompson did the curl route in front of Irvin. Calvillo came back with the play fake, took him deep for 6.
Paul Oswaldeston adds the point after with 1:43 remaining in the first half. Larry Thompson started the year with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He was added to the roster of the Ticats 3 games back and had an outstanding performance last week in a win over Winnipeg with 285 yards.
You saw right there the pump fake by Calvillo. Irvin bit on that, and when he bit, Thompson blew past him. He tried to grab him, and he was off to the end zone for the 6 points. Byron White, from his free safety position in his first game, was not able to get over. And that's what you get when you got a young man that's inexperienced, not able to read what the quarterback is doing. The result was 6 for Hamilton. They feel they're back in this ball game.
Thompson played the slot with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. When he came to Hamilton, Coach Don Southern told him he felt he would be more effective at the wideout position, and indeed he has been.
Well, when he started out in the league with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he was a wideout. He had that unfortunate leg injury from that gunshot, but he has recovered fully, and he's been a welcome added addition for this Hamilton offense.
Acquired in a trade on the 7th of August, he made his debut against Shreveport, and then burned the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for 285 yards last week.
That was the 4th highest total in CFL history, wasn't it?
It was indeed. Chris Wright picks up the ball. Looks up the middle. There's a penalty flag as Wright fights his way up to the 39-yard line. 55-yard kick, a return of 20 yards.
Get a flag on the play.
Referee Ken Lazarus sorting out this penalty here.
Holding. Baltimore, number 20. 10-yard penalty from point ball held. First down.
Back-to-back plays with penalties for Corus Irvin.
That takes the ball back to the 23-yard line, 1st and 10. I talked about Thompson's performance. Only Hal Patterson with 338, Curtis Mayfield 319, and Alfred Jackson with 308 have had better pass receiving games.
And those last two both were done at Winnipeg Stadium.
Sean Jones is now in at quarterback. He swings it out to Tui Pelotu. He hurdles a man and goes down at the 44. He attempted to jump over Derek Greer.
Tui Pelotu with the reception.
Sean Jones, a second-year man out of Georgia Tech. You see his numbers right there. Started earlier this season in the Calgary game when Tracy Ham had the sore foot. Tracy Ham came in to relieve him, and that was at the end of that grueling 3-game road trip where Baltimore ended up 2-1 on that.
Tracy Ham has had some injury problems for the last few weeks. Jones is now in. He gives to Pringle, and Pringle attempted to go wide on 1st down, but was stopped by Sean Smith, the linebacker on the right side.
One of the better plays here in the first half for the linebacking core of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Sean Smith, that time able to slide down the line of scrimmage, ward off the blockers, and meet Mike Pringle just as he got to the line of scrimmage and drop him right there.
Sam Rogers now comes into the ball game, and Sean Smith goes to the bench. An extra DB in for the Ticats in what appears to be an obvious passing play. But it's a handoff inside to Pringle, and Pringle is not going to get the 1st down. He'll pick up about 4, stopped by Keith Embray.
Tim Brown, the new middle linebacker for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, just signed this week out of the New Orleans Saints training camp, filling in for Peter Gutoflis, getting some CFL action here. And the Hamilton Ticats have picked up the tempo defensively with that touchdown by Larry Thompson. Now they need to get a big play on the specialty teams, try to get some more points right before halftime.
Brown was released by New Orleans on August the 23rd, signed with the Ticats on the 29th. Rogers has the ball bounce in front of him. It may have touched him. But fortunately for Rogers, it appears as though he was able to recover as well, as Perry was downfield trying to grab the loose ball.
I think we're going to get a no yards against Baltimore.
34 seconds remaining in the half.
Big break for the Ticats, Don. They needed that. They could not afford to turn the ball over going into halftime down inside their 20.
Rogers appeared to have some difficulty in following the flight of the ball. Initially, it looked as though he was going to come up and try and make the catch. And did it touch him?
No yards. Baltimore, number 4. Bounce back. 5-yard penalty. 1st down, Hamilton.
One of the things you get with Josh Miller, you have a left-footed kicker. Most punt returners are forced to see a right-footed kicker all year long, and you see that different spiral of the ball, so the ball is spinning opposite of normally what it would come to you trajectory-wise, and Rogers had problems with that.
1st and 10, Hamilton from the 30. Calvillo steps up. Now Calvillo will take off. But he won't be able to run for a 1st down as Ken Watson moved up to cut off any access Calvillo thought he may have had to that 10-yard forward marker.
Well, he's had some success throwing to his left. That time they squeezed up the coverage a little bit, got tighter, and that time he had to pull it down and try to run for his life. Picked up 6 yards, but he lost precious time off the clock.
26 seconds remaining in the half. 31-7, Baltimore leads Hamilton. Hit screen to Thompson, and Thompson is going to go back the other way. And he will be rewarded for his efforts as he gets a 1st down, moving up to the 44-yard line.
With only 19 seconds to go, you see the concern on Coach Southern's face here in the first half. Hamilton needs to pick up about 20 to 25 yards to give Osbaldiston a decent shot at a field goal.
I wonder if some of that concern was over the fact that Thompson may have been ad-libbing a little on the pattern. The pass was intended for Winfield. I'm not so sure if even had he made the catch, it would have been legal, because it looked as though he ran out of bounds in trying to run his pattern.
Well, he got a little nudge down there on the sideline, and if you're forced out by a defender, you can come back in and stay in the field of play. You'll see right here is Irvin Smith shoves Earl Winfield out of bounds. Earl is still allowed to come back in because he didn't go out under his own power.
Absolutely right. When forced out by an opponent, he is allowed to come back, and that appeared to be the case. Deep throw for Thompson. Can't make the catch.
Calvillo for Larry Thompson, incomplete.
Just 2 seconds remaining in the half.
That's a play that looked like Thompson might have mistimed his jump on Don. Calvillo hung the ball up, gave Thompson time to run under it, but he saw the defender coming over, Courtney Griffin, from his halfback position at that last moment, and thought that he might take a shot and just gave up on the football.
This should be the final play of the half, and the Ticats are going to gamble on 3rd down. Screen pass to Dean Knoll, and he will get to midfield, but that is as far as he goes on the final play of the half here at Ivor-Wynne Stadium. And Don Matthews has to be happy with the performance of his team over the first 30 minutes, particularly the running of Mike Pringle, who has scored 3 touchdowns in a 24-point Baltimore lead.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA. Performance. Serious performance.
Hamilton preparing to kick off to start the second half. Pringle and Wright are back to handle this Paul Osbaldiston kickoff. It bounces to Wright at the 20-yard line. He fakes the reverse with Pringle, carries on himself, looks for some blocking help. He doesn't need much room. What a job he has done on special teams, bringing the ball to the 50 of Hamilton. And the Baltimore Stallions will have excellent field position to start their first drive of the second half. Statistically, Baltimore was all over Hamilton in the first half. The one big pass resulting in the Hamilton touchdown gave them the edge in the passing statistics. And Sean Jones is going to continue at quarterback. We understand that starting quarterback Tracy Ham injured his left quad and is not expected to return, but the injury reportedly is not serious. The pass intended for Armstrong, incomplete.
Jones Armstrong goes incomplete.
Ham has gone to the dressing room and is not on the Baltimore bench.
Your attention, please, with Matt Brady. Matt Brady, please report to the northwest corner. Matt Brady.
So Crawley is the backup. He's from Towson State. He wears number 13 and has been holding on placements by Carlos Huerta. Sean Jones throws. This time he's got a receiver open, and Drummond will have a first down at the 35-yard line.
Rogers with the tackle, first down for Baltimore.
Well, Tracy Ham apparently has returned. He was late coming out of the dressing room, and he is going to do some advising on the sidelines, and whatever he suggested prompted a smile from head man Don Matthews. Jones overthrows
Jones pass goes incomplete.
Park.
Second and 10, ball on the 36-yard line.
.35 remaining in the third quarter. And apparently we are having some technical problems here in the booth. We apologize and hope they will be corrected just as soon as possible. Second and 10. Sean Jones now operating out of the shotgun. He appears to be a little confused, and it's going to be a time count violation. There was some miscue, and Jones wanders over to the sidelines now to confer with headman Don Matthews. Jones also talked with Steve Barato, the offensive coordinator. They've made a number of changes to the stands at Ivor-Wynne Stadium in preparation for the Grey Cup next year, spending some $2.8 million. They have added private boxes on the press box side. Club 68 is where many of the fans are located. Pass intended for Pringle. It's incomplete. And it will be 3rd and 10 for Baltimore with 13:11 remaining in the third quarter.
Well, Jones happy with the opportunity to be able to come in the game and play, as most young quarterbacks do. They want to show their arm strength, come in and throw. Mike Pringle ran for well over 150 yards in the first half, and Jones came in and neglected to give him the ball thus far. He was the most integral part of your first half offense.
I talked about Crawley being the holder. He will position the ball for Huerta for this 43-yard field goal attempt. And it's good. He has really been successful this year in kicking field goals for Baltimore, and that's one area in which the Stallions have improved. Baltimore now leads Hamilton, and the Ticats are going to scrimmage 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. One of the assistant coaches of the Hamilton Ticats, Terry Greer, his responsibility to work with the receivers. And they all say that he has helped tremendously. The pass intended for Earl Winfield. One of the receivers who has benefited most has been Richard Nurse. Winfield, the 34-year-old veteran, probably doesn't need a whole bunch of help.
Not a lot. You talked about Richard Nurse had his first touchdown of the season last week in Winnipeg in that big overtime win out there in Winnipeg to keep Hamilton in the race for first place in the Northern Division. It's hard to say that. Normally it's the Eastern Division.
Kalen Hall is out of the ball game. Dean Noel is in as his replacement. The pass was intended for Lee Knight. It will be 3rd and 10.
Well, Cavillo is struggling as we see one of the offensive linemen getting up slowly. Davies, who is starting tonight at center, who was a member of that 1991 Calgary Grey Cup team and 92 Grey Cup team. But they've done a good job tonight in protecting Cavillo. He has just struggled in getting the ball to his receivers. And one of these series, they're going to have to think about making a quarterback change.
Hamilton last year had all sorts of injury troubles along the offensive line. This year, so far, they've been quite fortunate. Davies missed a game, and Dale Sanderson missed a game. But those are the only 2 O-linemen who have been forced out of the lineup. This man is exciting. Every time he touches the ball, he's like Gizmo in Edmonton. On a punt return, he makes things happen. Baltimore on the kick return, assessed against Brian White. That takes the ball back to the 26-yard line. 1st and 10 from that point. Sean Jones gives the ball to Pringle. He got a good block as he tried to turn the corner. Then the ball comes loose. But Withicombe is able to get back and pounce on it. It was Withicombe who was leading the way around the corner. Pringle opted to cut inside, ran into traffic, and the ball popped loose, but Withicombe was able to pounce on it.
That would have been a huge break for this Hamilton defense that has been fighting so hard trying to contain Mike Pringle. That time they were able to jar him loose from the football, but Withicombe, as you say, watch here on the counter as they pull the offside offensive lineman. Jesse Small steps up into the hole big, along with Patrick, the linebacker. Small peels back off, makes the initial hit, and getting the feel from Tim Brown, that new middle linebacker put his helmet right on the football and jarred it away from Pringle, but Withicombe right there to recover the loose ball. You get a shot there as Brown comes in and just levels the boom on Pringle as he's being held up by Small.
The coaching staff of the Ticats feel that Brown is going to be a player in the Canadian Football League. He needs experience, however. He's only been in camp for a couple of days. The pass to Drummond. Drummond is forced to cut back, and he's down by Sean Smith at the 20-yard line. A further loss on the play after they lost 4 on the fumble by Mike Pringle.
You speak about being players. Sean Smith, his first year in the CFL, coming over from the World League, picking up the scheme here in Hamilton, fitting right in with this defensive game plan that they've employed. The loss of the other 2 linebackers, Hassan Bailey along with Michael O'Shea, has really hurt the Ticats tonight, but the other guys now seem to step up the tempo since Tim Brown has come into the lineup.
Tremendous kick by Miller. It chases Rogers all the way back to the 28-yard line. Zatilny, who was out on the punt return team with Rogers, attempted to throw a block for him, but couldn't handle Grant Carter. Tomorrow on CBC television, from Vancouver, the Molson Indy. It begins at 3:30 Eastern Time on the full CBC network. Larry Thompson comes wide left. 1st and 10. Calvillo continues to stay in at quarterback. Dumps it off to Dean Noel, and Noel will get a first down, taking it across the 50 to the 52-yard line. He's in the ball game as a replacement for the injured Kalen Hall.
Well, that's one of the things that you can do to slow down the rush of an opposing team, is have those little dump-off routes to the back, circling out of the backfield. That time, Noel checked at the line of scrimmage, saw that there was no one coming. You'll see him come out to the right here. Checks through, comes up, gets a downfield block, turns it inside, and picks up the first down.
9:54 remaining in the 3rd quarter. This time the handoff to Dean Noel, and he's going to be dropped for a loss. He was caught in the backfield initially by O.J. Brigance, the middle linebacker.
Baltimore came with the blitz. Perfect defense call for the right play, and that time Noel was caught in the backfield for the 2-yard loss. Calvillo now really has to make a play. He cannot afford to go back to the sideline and not pick up a first down.
Dean Noel spent 2 years in Ottawa before signing as a free agent with Hamilton. Winfield, the pass receiver. Winfield had 2 defenders lined up over there and was unable to beat them as he attempted to pick up extra yardage after making the catch at the 54. Watson and Smith combined to bring him down.
One of the things about the passing scheme of Hamilton is that they've had 3 different receivers that have come up with big games. You've had Winfield, you've had Thompson, you've had Hazard, but you haven't had those receivers come up with the big game at the same time, and that's what this offense needs to do. Find a way to get all 3 of those guys cohesive in the same game.
Osbaldiston stands at his own 43 for this 3rd down punt. Wright will handle it, and this time he's surrounded by 3 Ticats and dropped at the 20. McCurdy, Noel, and Patrick were all there. But Chris Wright is going to excite football fans throughout the league with his punt returning ability. He has tremendous speed, and there's a buzz of anticipation, I'm sure, every time he touches the football, as there is with Henry Williams in Edmonton.
Well, with his slashing ability and the way he explodes, this guy is hard to tackle even in a phone booth.
Complete to Clark at the 30-yard line, and a late penalty flag.
Pass is complete on the play to Robert Clark. We got a flag on the play.
Face mask right at the end of that. That was a very quick hand on the face mask. Looked like Clark was going down and might have rubbed across it.
Major foul, face mask, Hamilton number 2, 15-yard penalty from point, ball dead. First down, Baltimore.
We get a good look at it right here as you'll see Clark going down. Watch the left hand of Carter as it goes to the face mask. Looked more like it was on the jersey than the face mask, but the official was right on top of it.
Steve Barato, the offensive coordinator, was saying yesterday he felt the Stallions would be able to run the ball against Hamilton, and in the first half they certainly succeeded with that game plan, and Mike Pringle scored 3 touchdowns. The pass intended for Pringle is incomplete, and there is also a penalty flag up in the vicinity of the 47-yard line.
You get that in the category where you normally get offensive holding, but, you know, to go away from what they did so well in the first half with the backup quarterback, Sean Jones, he really doesn't get the work being in the game with Tracy Ham on the sideline if he's just handing off to Mike Pringle. They want him to get some timing in with the receivers.
Score number 65, 10-yard penalty, first down repeater.
Withicombe was called for holding. He's number 65.
Up at the top of your screen, you'll see him right here working against Jesse Smalls. He's going to get that hook up under the chin. Ah, nice takedown, WWF style.
Withicombe has rated very highly all season along the O-line for Baltimore. He has played all 3 positions as well, guard, center, and tackle. He's in a tackle in place of the lineman of the year from last season, Sean Pordonish.
Well, after being held, Jesse Small took some exception to that. On the next play, he just exploded past the blocker and planted Sean Jones, and he was not able to get the ball out to Shannon Culver, who was wide open out in the flat.
Speaking of Sean Pordonish, there is some concern in Baltimore that he may have stress fractures in both ankles. Wide open is Robert Clark. He has got the first down, I believe, at the 54 of Hamilton.
A lot of poise shown by Sean Jones on that pass play, Don. He sat in the pocket, allowed Robert Clark to come open underneath about 20 yards downfield and just gunned it in there, put it right on the numbers. Baltimore keeps the drive alive with another first down.
The ball between the 53 and 54 of Hamilton. First and 10 Baltimore. The handoff to Pringle, and Pringle managed to break the initial contact, and then Tim Brown in at the middle linebacking position, replacing Peter Giftopoulos, finished them off.
Where Hamilton has been having problems tonight with Mike Pringle is the front 4 up front. Look at the offensive line as they have defenders pinned to the ground. There's not a defensive lineman in the picture. There's all linebackers and defensive backs coming up to make the tackle on Mike Pringle.
Pringle has run for 151 yards thus far. His best performance of the season, 166 last week against Toronto. Last year, Pringle's best individual game, 232 yards against Shreveport. He also had a 216-yard game against BC, and he ran for 209 against Winnipeg.
Well, the pace that he was running in the first half, he seemed to be on a 300-yard pace, but with Sean Jones being put in the backfield at the quarterback position, Tracy Ham going down, you want to get your young quarterback some reps at throwing the football, and he's proven that he can get the ball to his receivers. And this is what you need in case that injury comes along later in the year and it's more damaging than what it is tonight, where Tracy's just sitting out the second half and Sean has to play for an extended amount of time.
There could be a problem with the clock. Ken Lazaruk came over to check.
Count violation, Baltimore number 10. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Well, there was a problem with the clock as far as Sean Jones was concerned.
He thought it was too quick. They'll all say that.
Second and 10 Baltimore. Hand off to Drummond, and Drummond fights his way to the 46. Sean Smith again came over to make the tackle. Drummond and Tui Pelotu haven't been alternating as much throughout this football game as they have in some games in the past. Steve Verrato suggested that Drummond would probably play quarters 1 and 3, but he was also in there at the fullback position some during the second quarter.
Well, Tui Pelotu caught that beautiful swing pass where he looked like he was running the 400 hurdles on the backside over there, and picked up a first down when he came in. So they both made contributions tonight for the Baltimore offense.
Huerta has made 1 field goal this year from outside the 50-yard line. This will be a 53-yard kick, and in trying to get something extra into it, he drove it right into the line of scrimmage, and it's recovered there by Patrick. He may have slipped as he attempted to get a little extra into it. And with Huerta's miscue, the Ticats take over with 6:08 left in the third quarter.
And watch Carlos Huerta's left foot when he comes up. You'll see the tape underneath it. We can get a freeze right here. You'll see as he turns up, underneath his left foot, you'll see a spat job. And that's where he loses the traction as he goes to plant and follow through, kicks the ball right into the back of the offensive line.
His longest kick of the year, a 52-yarder. Richard Nurse makes the catch and is brought down at the 53. He has a gain of about 8 yards. I talked about Richard Nurse benefiting from the presence of Terry Greer as far as running his pass patterns and the passing game of the Ticats is concerned. I don't think Terry Greer would take any credit for Richard's attendance at team practices and meetings. He's been fined 6 times this year for being late.
The most heavily fined of all Ticat players, but hey, he's a financial consultant.
There's Terry Greer. What an outstanding career he had.
Remember that 1983 Argonaut Grey Cup team? 2 Super Bowl rings with the San Francisco 49ers. Great addition to this coaching staff.
Looking for the first down, Dean Noel attempted to go up and over. Matt Goodwin, the linebacker, met him in midair.
Look at the top of your screen. You get Matt Goodwin coming over the top as Noel tries to dive for the first down. Goodwin just sails out. That's what you expect from a football player. That's making a football play.
He had an outstanding rookie season and is continuing his fine play, and this is sophomore year in the lineup of the Baltimore Stallions. On the third down gamble, Calvillo goes straight ahead to pick up the first down with 4:30 remaining in the third quarter.
A much-needed first down for the Ticats, Don. Time is running very thin for them at this point. Even though there's 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, they need to go down and put some points on the scoreboard. This Stallion team has been very strong tonight, and they haven't showed any signs of weakness.
Last year, Don Sutherland was an assistant coach the first time these two teams met. Baltimore won by a score of 30-15. Long throw for Earl Winfield, and Winfield has it at the 24. And there's also a penalty flag. It could be roughing the passer against Payton, although he is indicating that the penalty call is against Hamilton.
Holding, Hamilton, number 51, 10-yard penalty, first down repeated.
Oh, what a big break for the Baltimore Stallions and a bad break for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Just when it looked like they might be driving down the field, come up with an offensive holding that's going to negate that big gain by Earl Winfield.
Dave Richardson was the guilty party.
You see Richardson here at the top of your screen working against Alfred Payton, second in the league in sacks. He gets that big paw up in his face mask, and that's where the holding came from.
Calvillo under pressure from Payton again. This time he dumps it off to Dean Noel. Dean Noel fights his way up to the 51-yard line. And the ball comes loose. It's recovered by Baltimore. Matt Goodwin pounces on it as the Stallions take over. So it's a Baltimore first down with 3:23 remaining in the third quarter.
Rushing into middle linebacker. Look at O.J. right here along with his buddy Gerald Bayless. The ball is going to go back across the field to Noel. Watch the pursuit of these two defenders as they track about 30 yards back across the field to get in on the tackle. O.J. Brigance will cause the fumble on the play. Big hustle and big play by the Baltimore defense.
Well, the addition of Carter to the lineup enabled the Stallions to move O.J. Brigance into the middle linebacking position, and he has been a factor in tonight's game from that middle position. Pringle has also been a factor, and he picks up 5 more as he gets to the 54.5 of Hamilton. Greg Patrick came over to make the tackle. Pringle with 157, and now another 6. So he's got 163, closing in on his best performance of the year.
Well, what this offensive line does, we can talk about it all night long, is that they've just worn down this Hamilton front seven. They've been leaning on them all night long. They've been coming with the counters, misdirection runs. And so you have the defense starting one way. You have the big offensive line getting their position, and it's hard to fight back through it.
First and 10, the ball now at the 48 of Hamilton. This time it is Drummond, and Drummond dives through for a gain of about 5.
Brown and Smith on the tackle for the Cats.
Baltimore is hoping that Tracy Ham will be back in the lineup next Saturday when the Stallions are at home to Birmingham. They expect a crowd of better than 40,000 for the matchup between the #1 and #2 teams in the Southern Division of the CFL.
Well, Birmingham has been playing well as of late, over 50 points last night in Ottawa.
Robert Drummond, the ball carrier again, but it appears as though he's been stopped short of a first down. This must be something of a new experience for Robert Drummond. He hasn't been used all that much during the season as a ball carrier by the Baltimore Stallions.
No, very limited on the carries coming into this game. Even though he was averaging 5.7 yards a rush, Irvin Bowman, you see, assistant coach, also specialty team coach for the Hamilton Ticats, really has helped this team out in moving over here last season, and they've really got a solid unit this year. 6-3 coming into this game.
Well, he expressed some concerns prior to the start of the game about the way Hamilton, with all the injuries, would handle Baltimore's rushing game. There's a bad snap. The ball is loose, and Hamilton will take over. A miscue on the exchange from center, and Chris Armstrong came back to pick it up. Jesse Small pinned him for a loss back at the 48-yard line.
We get a clear shot of it right here. Watch Nick Subis on the exchange. Sean Jones did just not get his hands together on the snap, and it went right through his legs. Chris Armstrong, alert, comes back and picks it up because Jesse Small had a clear path towards the end zone. Jesse Small has had a tough game tonight, but that time he was very headsy and heading towards the ball and dropping Chris Armstrong.
Steve Taylor is now in at quarterback. Taylor started last week against Winnipeg. When he threw an interception, he was pulled out of the game by Don Sutherland. He's got a strong arm, and he drills one into the hands of Lee Knight. And there is a late penalty flag as Knight goes down with a gain of about 9.
Going to get a face mask call here against Baltimore. Tack a little more on.
Face mask, Baltimore, number 7, 15 yards from point ball dead. First down, Hamilton.
The face mask violation against linebacker Tracy Gravely. So that will give Hamilton a first down at Baltimore's 39-yard line. A lot of speed, a lot of mobility among the 3 linebackers for Baltimore. Goodwin, Brigance, and Gravely. Taylor needs some mobility. He doesn't have it in trying to escape the clutches of Carter and Payton.
You talk about a jailbreak that time by the Baltimore defense. Everybody came. Carter, Payton from the outside. It talked about the speed of those 2 ends. Very evident right there. You spoke about Taylor's ability to run. That time he could not elude the Stallion defense. They all look like racehorses on that play.
Steve, that was 30 the wrong way. And this should be the final play of the third quarter.
Long way to go.
Yeah, this is one of those you call second down, hope and a prayer, and wish somebody comes up with something big.
Second down from the 41. Second and 40. Pitch screen intended for Thompson. It was broken up by Goodwin before he could get his hands on the ball. So after 3 quarters of play here at Ivor Wynn, it's 34-7. Baltimore controlling Hamilton.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA. Performance. Serious performance.
Paul Osbaldiston leads the league with a 48.1-yard punting average. He'll have to kick that average just to get it up to the forward marker on the sidelines. It's 3rd and 40.
That was a play that Hamilton didn't want. Excuse me, Don. They didn't need that 30-yard loss by Steve Taylor, and now they're really pressed.
Good kick by Ozzie. And Wright will not get an opportunity for a return. A 54-yard kick by Paul Osbaldiston. That's his best of the evening.
With a net of 54. That's the key.
We've got a doubleheader for you coming up on Labor Day Monday. It all begins with the Edmonton-Calgary rivalry at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. The game starts at 3 Eastern time. Chris Cuthbert, Mark Lee, and Dan Kepley will be there. And then from the Dome in Toronto, it will be San Antonio and the Argonauts. The Argonauts playing their first game under Bob Obilovich, who has replaced Mike Farragelli as head coach. Mike Pringle, the ball carrier, and he is tackled for a loss by Keith Embry.
Sometimes you get a little, too late, but Embry still hustling. Needed more plays like that in the first half. Watch him at the top of your screen as he comes across, uses his hands against the fullback, reads across, tackles Pringle in the backfield. That's how you make defensive plays. Needed a little more of that early in the game.
A loss of 5 as the ball goes back to the 12-yard line. Sean Jones was looking for Shannon Culver. And it's 2 and out for Baltimore as Hamilton will get the ball back in good field position. 346 net yards for Baltimore compared to 180 for Hamilton. Much of Hamilton's total on a 60-yard pass from quarterback Anthony Calvillo to Larry Thompson late in the first half.
Well, the one big play in a football game in CFL, you need 5 to 6 big plays, and Hamilton has only been able to muster up the one, and that was a touchdown to Thompson.
Josh Miller's punting has improved tremendously this year over last. He has 24 kicks of better than 50 yards this year, and he sailed that one out of the end zone to Sam Rogers, who returned it to the 42. That was a 46-yard kick by Miller with
there was a fumble on the play,
run
and Baltimore's recovered, Don. Baltimore's recovered the fumble up by Rogers on the punt return. Another bad break for the Ticats. We get a look at it right here. Smith fields the ball, fields it cleanly, and he does the proper thing. He takes it right back up the middle, the closest line towards end zone. But the hit by Gravely right here strips him of the ball on the way to the ground. Looks like Matt Goodwin in it.
Rogers fumble recovered by the Stallions.
Rogers arguing that he was down when the ball came loose, but it was pulled away from him as he was going down, and Baltimore takes over 1st and 10 from the 44. Pringle lost 5 the last time he carried. He gets it back plus 1 or 2 as he drives up across the 50 to the 52. 23,120 watching tonight's game at Ivor Wynn.
Capazzo heading on the tackle.
What do you have to be most impressed with Mike Pringle about it? His leg drive, once contact has been made with the defender, is that he continues to churn, picking up yardage. As you saw in that last play, gained 7. He was hit after about 2 yards and picked up that extra 5.
As we said earlier, he doesn't often make people miss, but he does have the strength to run out of tackles and break tackles. There's another example. Pringle looked as though he was going to be stopped initially by Campbell right at the line of scrimmage, but he broke out of the tackle and is able to pick up a 1st down.
Well, he can't do it all alone. That big offensive line. Watch Nick Subas on Tim Brown right here, the rookie middle linebacker. He has just engaged him, drove him completely out of the hole, and when your offensive line is getting you time and gaps like that, you have to pick up plus yardage.
Brown was not slated to start and probably didn't expect to play much, but he has taken over from Givkopoulos. Little swing pass to Tui Peloto. Tim Brown and Gary Lewis came over to make the tackle. He is in the ball game now. Drummond played the third quarter, so they are following the pregame plan with Tui Pelotu coming in the fourth quarter.
Well, he was the second leading ball receiver last year for Baltimore. Came into this game, he only had 8 receptions. He's had 2 tonight, and on both of those, he's been able to pick up a first down.
Drummond goes back in and leads the blocking for Pringle, as Pringle will pick up about 8 more. This is his best game of the season now, as he has run for 178 yards.
You know, in the halftime piece that we did, there was some talk about the American-Canadian ratio, about losing offensive linemen. Hamilton lost offensive linemen coming into this game. Baltimore had lost offensive linemen coming into this game. But it was very easy for Baltimore to go out and replace those offensive linemen that they had lost, finding another capable guy who was ready to play, who didn't need some seasoning.
On 2nd and 2, it's Pringle again, and it looks as though he's got the first down inside the 30-yard line, stopped there by Greg Patrick. If he continues running, and he has time, 10:41 remaining, he could have his first 200-yard rushing game of the season. He had 3 of them, as we mentioned earlier, last year.
Once again, we'll see Tim Brown, but he's not getting any support from his 2 tackles. When you have a middle linebacker, you have Luke Cavazo and Mike Campbell in the middle. They have to be able to keep those linemen, those offensive linemen, off of the middle linebacker, allowing him time to scrape and get to the ball carrier.
Jones is going to throw, and it's complete to Clark. And Clark has a gain of about 8 more. We talked at the start of the game how big a loss the absence of Mike O'Shea would be. This is the first game he has missed, and that is a really cumbersome looking
looks like your bicep
apparatus he has on his right arm. He dislocated his elbow last week against Winnipeg.
What he has on is a hinge cast, so he can keep the flexibility and range of motion in that elbow as it recovers. They're allowed to give it treatment.
Pringle was looking for a first down. He'll be close, brought down by Mike Campbell. John Salvantis, one of the assistant coaches, was telling me prior to the game, he said from the start of the season, they've been praying that nothing would happen to Michael O'Shea. He said because you simply don't replace a man of his talent.
Well, he's been the true leader of that defense. He coming into the game, he was 2nd in the league in tackles, and when you lose him along with Hassan Bailey, who was 2nd on the team, it's a big hole to fill.
John Salvantis is on the other side of the football. He's the man in charge of the offensive line.
Mike Pringle, the ball carrier.
Hamilton. Mike Pringle running behind a big offensive line that averages 300 pounds, gets down to about the 10-yard line. There's John Salvantis. And his offensive line has been beaten up a fair bit in tonight's football game.
Well, they've had their hands full, and you know, when you make those changes in the middle, they actually made 3 position changes with the interior of the Hamilton offensive line, and that's some hard adjustments to make. And when you're playing against a great defensive front like Baltimore has, you have your hands full.
Pringle up to 190 yards rushing. Jones is going to try and run for a first down, but he's forced out of bounds by Carter, and it appeared as though he was short.
Do you gamble at this point the way you've been driving the ball down the field? Or is it a gamble?
I don't know whether it's really a gamble when you've got a back like Pringle and an offensive line with the talent of this Baltimore front 5.
You think about this Baltimore offensive line, they average 6'5", about 310 pounds. You look at the 2 interior tackles for Hamilton, Mike Campbell and Luke Cavazo, both about 6'1", 255, 260 range.
Pringle, the ball carrier. And he's over 200 yards as he takes it into the end zone. The 14th player in CFL history to have a 4-touchdown game running with the ball.
Watch Mike Pringle right here. Watch the contact. We get a freeze right here. Watch him bounce out of that. No Hamilton defender wrapped up on him. Mike kept the legs turning, fell right into the end zone for his 4th touchdown of the night, extending on his Baltimore record for touchdowns in a game.
Huerta with the point after. But the big story out of tonight's ball game is that Pringle has a 200-yard rushing game and 4 touchdowns.
BBC. Brought to you by BC Tel. We make saving simpler with Real Plus.
Mike Pringle's 10-yard run finishes off a 66-yard Baltimore scoring drive, and the Stallions lead 41-7. Kept. The Hamilton defense just cannot get off the field.
Well, they really can't. They've been playing almost 60 minutes out there. The offense can't sustain any drives, no possessions, no first downs. They keep losing yardage, and it makes it a tough day. I mean, it's a long day at the office right now. They go take a look at the films and see if they can correct whatever mistakes, and then put it in the archives and get ready for next week. This team can improve. They're not nearly as bad as what we're seeing them play.
Maybe they'd be best not to look at the films, Captain.
Well, I think you have to, and adding insult to injury, it may hurt a bit, but they need to.
All right, Don.
Taken by Sam Rogers. Tracy Gravely makes the tackle.
Sam Rogers with the return. A 14-yard run back. Gravely was involved in the stop. It will be 1st and 10 from the 43. 4 rushing touchdowns for Pringle. The only player who has ever scored more along the ground in a game is Earl Lunsford. He had 5 in 1962, and Patton against Shreveport this year.
Martin Patton.
2 players who have scored more. Earl Winfield takes the ball to the 48-yard line. A gain of 18 yards. Almost forgot about Patton's 5 TD performance against Winnipeg this year. I know Cal Murphy would like to forget about it.
Well, some of us get a chance to tour the world, such as you, and so you weren't around for that game.
I can blame the fact I forgot about that momentarily on the World Track and Field Championships in Sweden. That's what you're suggesting.
And a wonderful job you did.
Thank you. Wonderful job by Donovan Bailey and Bruni Surin and Michael Smith and
in the 100 meters.
Kevin Sullivan and Angela Chalmers and a few others, auguring well for the 1996 Olympics next year in Atlanta.
I guess the guys in the U.S. will have something to worry about in the sprints.
Yes, and in the relay.
I'll make a call.
6:56 the time remaining. 41-7 the score.
You know, when you think about this game and you draw up how it's been played out tonight, it's been the Hamilton Ticats just being outmanned by the Baltimore Stallions. The size and the speed of this team, Hamilton not being able to fill in properly with the player ratio on the injuries.
Hamilton, number 66, 5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
Get a shot here of the penalty right here at 56. 66, Blaine Smith, the left guard, along with Val St. Germain, the left side of the line just moved together. Little frustration, lack of concentration being down at this point in the game by 34 points.
On the quarterback draw, Taylor takes the ball to the 45-yard line. He gets back 8 yards. O.J. Brigance, the middle linebacker, came over to make the tackle. Don Matthews at halftime made a comment that I'm sure most people who follow the CFL closely will agree with. He said, when one offensive lineman goes down, you've got a problem. When 2 go down, you've really got difficulties.
Well, it even speaks about not just your offensive line. Nice pass by Steve Taylor out to Larry Thompson.
Carry on, James.
You know, when you talk about that, the big hurt tonight came when Michael O'Shea, as fine a middle linebacker there is in the CFL, he and Larry Rock probably the top 2 Canadian linebackers in the league. Michael O'Shea goes down. Hamilton had to make an adjustment by taking out an American running back in McAdoo to replace him with a backup linebacker in Brown, and that really hurt the defense and the player ratio. You have that same problem in Baltimore. All you do is replace linebacker for linebacker.
Lee Knight on the receiving end of the Steve Taylor throw for a Hamilton touchdown. A 30-yard pass from Taylor to Lee Knight for the major score.
Steve Taylor, perfect shot, sitting in the pocket, poised, reading his receiver, Lee Knight, down the field, and look at the gas that he puts on that football. He guns a nice tight spiral. Lee Knight able to run underneath that ball. Steve Taylor happy with the touchdown, knowing that his team needed more, but a good play, something that the Ticats can build on for the next contest. Football is a game of 60 minutes. Stranger things have happened in the CFL.
Lee Knight came out of the junior program in Burlington, just down the road from Hamilton. 41-13 the score, with Osbaldiston adding the point after, with 5:17 remaining. Don Sutherland, the head coach, and the assistant head coach, Urban Bowman, conferring on the sidelines. Returns home to play Birmingham next Saturday. The Ticats will remain right here at Iverwin Stadium to take on the Toronto Argonauts next Saturday in a game you'll see on the full CBC network. 41-14, the identical score to the margin last week. Baltimore over Toronto. Shannon Culver mishandling the kickoff, and he's in big trouble. And he's down back at the 7-yard line. Tim Brown downfield to make the tackle. Lee Knight capping the touchdown drive with a 30-yard pass reception from Steve Taylor. The drive covered 67 yards. 5:07 the time remaining in the football game. 41-14, Baltimore leads.
You know, Hamilton can look at a lot of good things that have occurred tonight. Last season, the quarterbacks for Hamilton, the four as a group, only threw 21 touchdown passes. 10 games into the season this year, they've already equaled that total. Paul Osbaldiston is also creeping up on another stat himself. He is now the 6th all-time leading scorer in the CFL with 1,587 points.
Drummond, the ball carrier, and Drummond gets out to about the 17-yard line, very close to a first down, brought down by Don Robinson and Peter Giftopoulos.
Giftopoulos back in the game after a long rest. You see him right here from his MAC linebacker position as he flows. He reads the flow inside out, makes the tackle on Drummond as he turns up close to the first down.
Well, Giftopoulos last year was on the other side of the ball, and it takes some adjusting when you move from offense to defense, as this Hamilton native has.
Well, Giftopoulos played the entire season with his hands in the dirt, and now he's standing up looking, and you get a different read from that vantage point.
Remember, we've got a doubleheader coming your way on Labor Day. Edmonton is at Calgary. The first half of our twin bill kicking off at 3 o'clock Eastern time, followed up by San Antonio at Toronto from the Sky Dome in Toronto. Jones, the ball carrier, keeping for the first down with 4:18 remaining here at Iverwin.
Well, if the Ticats can come up with a defensive stand somewhere in here and force Baltimore into a punting situation once again and possibly pick up some more points that give them a little more incentive for next week to come out and show that they can play against a team of this caliber, and even with all the injuries that they can still score points.
Hamilton was hoping, despite the injury problems they had coming into this game, that they could win and move into a tie for second place in the Northern Division. Shannon Culver is taken out of bounds by Robinson and Greer.
You know, we talked about the fullbacks tonight for Baltimore, Pia Tuipulotu and Robert Drummond, and they've done a fine job in blocking for both quarterbacks, Ham and Jones. And that time, Tuipulotu got a nice block on Jesse Smalls from the rush-in position, allowing Jones the time to deliver that pass to Culver.
Well, both Tuipulotu and Drummond are in the ball game now, and out of the ball game is Mike Pringle. Drummond, running from the tailback position, picks up the first down to the 30-yard line.
Well, I think Mike's has put in a nice nights of work, and over 200 yards rushing. And the season is still long, so why take chances of getting him banged up? Save him for next week, which they play Birmingham, who's been playing well as of late.
Well, last year, he really had an outstanding second half in establishing the league record, which he might just break this year.
How you doing? DB, how you living, boy?
Well, hopefully all the people that Tracy was sending messages to are watching back in Baltimore this evening on WNUV-TV, Channel 54.
Well, he saved the price of a phone call if they were.
Mike Cook takes the pass and has a gain of about 9 yards.
Second down, 2 yards to go.
2:49 remaining. Baltimore chartering home immediately after tonight's football game to get ready for their engagement with Birmingham next Saturday. Better than 40,000 tickets expected to be sold for that game, and they're looking for a crowd of about 40,000 or better for their game against the BC Lions in the Grey Cup rematch. Drummond, the ball carrier, gets the first down, brought down by Keith Embray.
One of the things that Hamilton has not been able to do is pursue from sideline to sideline tonight. As Drummond takes the pitch back from Jones, gets the block from his offensive lineman, and Tuipulotu with a nice kick out there on Smith at linebacker, high steps around, picks up 6 yards on the run. Nice play on first down. Chris Armstrong, is it? As John James, the left offensive guard, looks like he's having some problems there.
2:27 is the time remaining as Baltimore is heading for a 4-point advantage atop the Southern Division over Birmingham.
Oh. Wow.
What's so new about new Speed Stick Clear deodorant? Take a look at this gel. See? It's wet and sticky. Mine goes on dry.
New Speed Stick Clear. It's more than clear. It's clearly dry.
By Menon. Hey, I'll take dry any day.
CFL is giving away $1,000 in groceries every day. Turn to 1410 a.m. tomorrow morning, 7:15, for your chance to win $1,000 in IGA groceries. Put it on your shopping list. $1,000 in groceries from 14 CFL.
90-pounder replacing a 6'3", 300-pounder. Sean Jones is going to be dropped for a loss. Tackled by Keith Embray.
Sean Jones just holding the ball a moment too long. He has to get rid of it on time. Jesse Small, slow getting up off the turf here at Ivor Wynn. He's had a very long night. He's had to fight off Baltimore offensive players all night long. And we get a shot of Jesse right here coming right into your living room. A lot of intensity there, but just gets caught right in the middle of that pileup. Looked like someone rolled up on his leg.
And that sometimes is how injuries occur. It was certainly the case last week in Winnipeg with Michael O'Shea when players get caught up in traffic. Well, Jesse Small didn't lose anything because he turned on a burst as he came in on Jones just as he threw the football, maybe hastening the throw.
The thing about that burst, so that burst has been inconsistent tonight. You have to play football. Football is a game of consistency. You have to make play after play. A lot of players will celebrate after making one big play, and they don't react after that with consecutive plays. But Jesse, that time after going down, was able to get up and get back in the flow of the game and stop Baltimore from picking up a first down.
Rogers waits for Miller's third down punt. Special teams play has improved dramatically this year, according to the Baltimore coaching staff. And Peter Tuipulotu was the first downfield to force Rogers out of bounds after a 46-yard kick by Miller.
Well, Rogers came into this game averaging just under 12 yards per punt return. But with the great bracketing by the Baltimore special team coverage, he has not been able to break away tonight to get anything big.
First and 10 Hamilton. They are at their own 24-yard line. Steve Taylor continues at quarterback. He took over in this second half from the starter, Anthony Calvillo. Three receivers wide to the right, but he'll dump it off to the left side. Ooh, and a pretty good hit put on, and the ball comes loose, picked up by Goodwin.
Taylor's pass to Dean Noel.
Dean Noel went down and remains down.
And I tell you, Don, he was grasping his left knee.
Well, he's now
up.
Now getting up. He was helped up by a Baltimore player, but I don't think he should have been getting up quite that quickly because he has to go down again. That was a punishing hit.
Well, when you're fighting for extra yards, sometimes those things happen. Gerald Bayless was able to get out there. He read the screen perfectly as Noel tried to turn upfield. Bayless was there to grab him, held him up. Two of the defenders came in to assist him on the tackle. Matt Goodwin got a good, clean shot. You'll see it right here. Watch Gerald Bayless read the screen, get out. That's why Gerald Bayless is here in Baltimore. He holds him up. Matt Goodwin comes in along with O.J. Brigance and just crushed Dean Noel right there. Looks like he might have twisted his ankle.
Baltimore has had control of the football tonight for 37 minutes and 30 seconds. Haven't given Hamilton a lot of time to play with the ball.
Well, even when Hamilton had the football, they weren't moving the ball down the field in a positive fashion. They were trying to play the wide sides. Baltimore came into the night's game with two new defenders, one at free safety, one at halfback. You did not see Hamilton try to attack the middle of the field, and you would think that that would be a place where they would want to go, and they didn't.
A reminder that the Molson Indy takes place in Vancouver tomorrow. Brian Williams will be on hand with all the action beginning at 3:30 Eastern Time, and Villeneuve has the pole for the Molson Indy. A lot of people hoping that he will be able to take it all the way to the checkered flag.
Won the Indianapolis 500 this year.
Pass over the middle, incomplete. Intended for Frank Maroff. And Taylor took a pretty good shot as he threw.
And Taylor had suffered a rib injury in the Shreveport game and looked like he might have took another shot up under those ribs as he was trying to deliver that football. Anthony Cavale there with Dieter Brock on the sideline.
The way things are going, they may have to press Dieter into action by the end of the month.
Hey, Dieter could throw the football. He put fear in every defender's heart when he was roaming the fields of the CFL as a quarterback.
There are still some players who say he throws it as well as he ever did.
I will not feel shame.
You're in, man.
Annihilate that bastard.
Thomas.
I live under the sun and the moon. I'm his neighbor.
Who's gonna pick up the pieces?
Whose side are you on?
I never will forget that 1985 Eastern Final at the C&E Stadium in Toronto, where he threw that 37-yard touchdown pass to Ron Johnson to catapult the Ticats into the Grey Cup versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Of course, Brock started his CFL playing career with Winnipeg, then was traded to the Hamilton Ticats. It appears as though Taylor has suffered a leg injury. He had Carter coming in at him from one side and Payton from the other, and then a bunch of people, Pressbury and Bayless, up the middle. And it was Pressbury who appeared to have a grip on his leg as Bayless came over the top.
And that's exactly what it was, Don. Robert Pressbury was low as Gerald Bayless came high. He was just stumbling back towards the quarterback, and unfortunately, he rolled into Steve Taylor's leg, and Steve is going off under some of his own power. That's a good sign to see that he can make it to the sideline without being carried off the field.
Athletic therapist Jerry Kurilowicz walking off with him, along with equipment man Isaac Wright. And the good news, as you suggested, for Hamilton is that Taylor is able to put weight on the leg that was hurt.
Os Balderson well below his season average tonight, 8 yards off of his average, and a lot of that is attributed to the rush that Baltimore has been putting on him up front, and they've also blocked one.
They've blocked one, and he's had one very bad snap to contend with in tonight's game. Smith on the punt return, forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field. Sean Smith ran Irvin Smith out of bounds with 1:09 remaining in the football game.
When you look at this Baltimore team, they're not only strong, but they're deep, Don. Wright has been returning punts all night long. Then you bring in Smith, who seems to be almost as dangerous as Wright. This team has so many parts that you can move in and out of the lineup that you just don't know where to defend the team, and they can attack you from any direction.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, to quote Don Matthews, Canadian teams, because of the import restrictions, when they basically have an all-Canadian offensive line, lose one player up front, they have a problem. When they lose two players up front, they're in big trouble. And I think it applies to more than just the O-line, because when a player goes down, they just don't have the accessibility to replacement American players like the teams based south of the border have.
Well, I like the idea that I stated at halftime. If you have an American player that plays on the same Canadian League team for 4 consecutive seasons, in the 5th year, he gets that exempt status. And at that point, you're allowed to bring another American player in. But if you lose that player, you have to fill that position back with a Canadian player. So you keep the Canadian players in the CFL.
Not a bad idea, James. Robert Drummond, the ball carrier, appears to have the first down.
Another plus of that is that you also keep fan identification with players. You have the same players. You don't have all these drastic roster moves every year. 5, 6, 7, 8 new players every season, and fans lose interest because they don't know who's wearing that particular jersey.
Funny Canadians, I believe, is what they used to refer to them as. And Ron Lancaster, who is now the head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos, was, I think, the last of that breed. Here in Hamilton, fans will remember Garney Henley and Angelo Mosca, who played as funny Canadians.
But all those players were great players in the CFL. They were great assets to their communities. And I think that's what the CFL, the head office, needs to go back and look at how to keep the American players involved in the Canadian cities so that fans can identify them and bring back those lost fans back into the CFL.
An identical score 2 weeks in a row, 41-14. Baltimore over Toronto, 41-14 over Hamilton tonight at Ivor Wynne Stadium. Don Southern not happy with what transpired tonight at Ivor Wynne, but the man on the other side is certainly happy with what took place. Don Matthews, the 5th winningest coach in CFL history, now is with Scotto.
All right, Don. Well, Don Matthews, their plan was to run the ball tonight. Did you expect Mike Pringle to flourish the way he did?
Well, you know, Mike's been running real well. We've got a good offensive line. Tracy got hurt early. He got a real bad quad bruise and a bad Charlie horse, and so some of the things that we wanted to do we couldn't do, so we improvised and went to the run, and our offensive line and Pringle really responded.
Now, this is the way, though, you've done it for most of the season, Pringle running the ball.
Yeah, we haven't really run it this much without the pass, but it's just a little bit easier when we're getting that much yardage, and then Tracy didn't have to really work at hurting his leg. Hopefully he'll be back next week.
Yeah, what is the story on Tracy Ham? I was going to ask you, were you holding him out because this one was under wraps and you hope to have him next week?
No, we were holding him out because he was hurt. He got a real bad quad bruise, a Charlie horse just above the knee, and it stiffened up at halftime, and he just couldn't go.
Final question, Don, is this team better than the one that you took to the Grey Cup final last year?
I think so. You know, we've improved our team personnel-wise, and I think we had a tough first half of the season, and our schedule was tough, but I think we're getting better each week now, and I think as we go along, we've got a chance to be really good.
Well, you got automatic field position in Chris Wright, don't you?
Yeah, and he's got hurt. He's got a little hamstring right now, and so we're going to have to look at that next week, but he certainly does return that ball up the middle.
Don, I'll let you go and you want to get to your team. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
41-14 the final here tonight. Don, I'd suggest this one was under wraps just as soon as Mike Pringle laid his hands on the ball.
Well, you know, you look at this game, and Hamilton was just outmanned tonight by this Baltimore Stallion Football Club. An excellent unit, well-coached, well-disciplined players, hard to beat down the road.
Well, the Baltimore Stallions now have an 8-3 record. The Calgary Stampeders, the only other team with 8 CFL wins. Dean Noel, who was hurt late in the football game, transported off to the Hamilton dressing room. Yet another injury problem that the Ticat coaching staff will be forced to contend with. Mike Pringle, a 4-touchdown man, a 200-yard runner in tonight's ball game. And when we return, he hopefully will be joining Scott Oak down on the sidelines.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by BC Tel. We make saving simpler with Real Plus.
Well, the Baltimore Stallions look just as good, maybe even stronger than the Baltimore team that went all the way to the Grey Cup final last season, 41-14 over the Cats at Ivor Wynne tonight. Stallions have temporarily, at least, matched Calgary with a league-leading 8 wins. The performance of Mike Pringle had everything to do with this victory. 4 touchdowns rushing, over 200 yards on the night. This was his 4th major to send the Stallions up 41-7 midway through the final quarter. I haven't done the math, but Pringle is likely on pace now for 2,000 yards on the season. Was going at an 1,855-yard clip coming into this game, and now doing his imitation of Mike Pringle, who had to go for quiet time with the Stallions in the locker room, is Dan Ketley. How long since you've seen a running back this dominant in a game like this?
I tell you what, it has been ever since that I've come into the league. I mean, the last time that I saw a guy that was that dominant was a guy like Willie Burden. He breaks the record last year, and as he said, he's on pace to even better himself this year.
And you suspect that the Baltimore Stallions are every bit as good or better than they were last year?
I think so. I think they've gotten better offensively. They've gotten better defensively. Their special teams have gotten better. As I say, Chris Wright is a great guy. He's got a return guy, and they got the best punter. So speaking of that, let me get out of here and get the guy in here that's running that, because he wants to sit down. He's a little tired.
Admirable job kept filling in, but here's the real deal. Mike Pringle now just out of the locker room. Mike, did you envision this kind of night?
Well, I always try to come out and do the best I can and try to be productive as possible and help my team to a victory.
How about the O-line? You got, as Cal Murphy calls them, the general manager coach in Winnipeg, 5 redwoods in front of you. What do you want to say about them?
Well, I always thank them. They love to block, and they get excited when we run the ball. So I get excited, and I run harder for them. The harder I run, the better they seem to block. And I think the key is my receivers. My receivers block downfield all the time, and they make things happen for me.
Mike, how badly do you want to crack that 2,000-yard barrier this season?
Well, if it comes, I take one game at a time, and if it happens at the end of the season, so be it. But I'm going to take one game at a time and see where the numbers fall.
Are you playing at your option? You coming back here next year, do you know?
This is my option year, so, I'm taking all offers.
All right, Mike, thanks for your time. Congratulations on a brilliant night. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
The Baltimore Stallions come up big at Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton tonight with a rather lopsided, brisk 41-point victory. We'll return in just a moment. Here's what's coming up on CBC Sports. Tomorrow, it's the Molson Indy from Vancouver. Jacques Villeneuve needs only to finish 5th to clinch his first IndyCar championship. On Monday, our Labor Day doubleheader starts with the Classic. The Eskimos in Calgary to play the Stampeders. This Battle of Alberta is alive and raging. Doug Flutie's final appearance before surgery to repair his elbow. That he'll undergo on Tuesday. We'll continue with San Antonio at Toronto to complete the doubleheader. Every 2 years, it seems, the Argos make a mid-season debut under Bob Obilovich, and this will be another as they try now to salvage the season and get into the playoffs. And in Hamilton tonight, the Baltimore Stallions started this game with a gallop, and they rode straight through the heart of the Hamilton Ticats. 41-14 the final as the Stallions are cruising atop the South Division. At least, or I should say, 4 points up on Birmingham as we speak. And that'll do it. Thanks for watching, and good night, everybody, from Ivor Wynne in Hamilton.
This is CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. The CBC Evening News with Kevin Evans and Gloria Makarenko, weeknights at 6.